She walked into the hospital, smiling, clutching her chest. Just anxiety, they said. Hours later, she never walked out again. Low, haunting heartbeat sound. A daughter, a sister, a friend. Dismissed in minutes. Silence forever. But one overlooked detail would expose a truth too big to bury. What if the hospital you trusted ignored your pain, and it cost your life? She begged for help, her mother by her side, but was brushed off. Just stress. By morning, she was gone. Her family shattered. Her dignity stolen. But grief would soon turn into a fight they never imagined. Her name was Emily, 26, bright-eyed, fiercely protective of her younger brother. She worked at a small bookstore, loved the smell of old pages, dreamed of teaching literature. Her days were simple. Morning tea with her mom, walks with her dad, late-night chats about travel and futures that felt wide open. She wasn't rich. She wasn't powerful. But she carried a dignity people noticed. A quiet resilience forged by years of pushing through life's smaller storms. Emily was the kind of person who remembered everyone's birthday, who stayed late to help co-workers, who smiled even when stress threatened to break her down. Those close to her always said, "If anyone can endure, it's Emily." But resilience has limits. And when her chest tightened that night, when her breathing grew shallow, she wasn't just another patient. She was terrified. Her mother's hands trembled as they rushed to the hospital. Emily whispered, "Something's wrong. Please don't let them dismiss me." Inside, the waiting room buzzed with exhaustion and fluorescent hum. Nurses scribbled notes without looking up. A doctor barely glanced at her chart. "Anxiety," he said flatly. "Go home, rest." Her mother's voice cracked. "She's never like this. Please listen." But the system was already turning cold. No one knew then. This wasn't just a night of fear. It was the beginning of a story far bigger than Emily's own destiny. It began like any other night. Emily finished work, texted her best friend, and laughed at a silly meme. Life was ordinary, predictable, safe. Then, her chest clenched like a vice. Breath shallow, palm sweating. Her mother drove through red lights to reach the emergency room. Inside, Emily whispered, "It feels like my heart is stopping." A nurse barely looked up. "Panic attack. You're young. You'll be fine." But she wasn't fine. Her lips paled. Her hands shook. Her mother pleaded. "She's never had this before. Please check properly." A doctor entered, eyes glued to the computer screen. "Not Emily." "Anxiety," he repeated. "Young women your age. Stress does this. Go home, calm down." Emily's tears welled. Fear burned behind them. But it's not just stress. Minutes crawled into hours. No tests. No scans. Just dismissal. When she collapsed against the hospital chair, her body screaming in silence, staff sighed impatiently. Her mother begged for help, shouted this time. Security was called. The hospital's authority loomed like a wall. "Ma'am, please don't disrupt the ward," a guard barked. The betrayal was complete. The system closed ranks. Media later wrote only one line. Patient presented with anxiety-like symptoms. But Emily had whispered something before losing consciousness. "Don't let them ignore me." It wasn't just fear, it was defiance. A spark of resistance, even as her body failed. By dawn, Emily was gone, and the hospital signed it off as stress. Injustice had spoken. Cold, clinical, absolute. But her family refused to let that be the final word. The morning after Emily's death, grief was still raw when the hospital called her family into a sterile, white room. The doctor's words were blunt. Anxiety attack. Nothing more. Sometimes stress can mimic heart failure. Her mother's hands shook. Her father stared blankly at the floor. But the more they asked questions, the colder the answers became. Where were the tests? The scans? The vitals recorded in detail? Pages of her file were missing. Notes were vague. Signatures smudged. When her brother pressed harder, hospital administrators leaned forward with warnings disguised as sympathy. Pursuing this won't bring her back. For your own peace, let it go. It wasn't comfort. It was intimidation. The police echoed the same script. Doctors know best. Nothing criminal here. Their tone wasn't investigative. It was dismissive, almost rehearsed. It felt like every institution had already decided the ending. Reporters arrived, hungry for headlines. The story they printed was cruelly simple. Young woman suffers fatal anxiety episode. Family struggles to cope. Not negligence. Not dismissal. Just fate. Friends and neighbors whispered. Some believed the family's cries. Others shook their heads, convinced grief had clouded judgment. The community divided. Doubt seeped in. But late one night, Emily's mother pulled out her daughter's phone. In it, a single video recording. Emily, pale and trembling, whispering, "They won't listen. Please, someone believe me." Her final plea caught on camera. One detail would later change everything. The hospital security logs. Why did they show missing hours? Why had key footage mysteriously vanished? The family's despair hardened into resolve. They filed complaints, wrote letters, demanded answers. Each door slammed shut. Each refusal stoked their fury. But whispers began to circulate. Other families, other dismissals, other deaths written off as anxiety. A pattern too large to ignore. The truth was trying to claw its way out. And though the system buried Emily, it would soon realize. Some stories refused to stay buried. The courtroom was suffocating. Marble floors, echoing gavel strikes. But beneath the formality, the deck was already stacked. The hospital's lawyers arrived in polished suits, armed with binders thicker than Emily's entire medical file. They spoke with confidence, dismissing negligence as grief-fueled imagination. Evidence mysteriously disappeared. Test results never surfaced. Doctors contradicted themselves but were never pressed. When Emily's mother testified, her voice cracking with each word, opposing counsel rolled their eyes. "Your grief is understandable," one lawyer said smoothly, "but medicine is not on trial." The judge rarely looked up. Each ruling favored the institution. Each objection from the family's attorney was silenced. It wasn't justice, it was theater. The family sat crushed in the back row, hearts heavy. Neighbors who once promised support stayed away, afraid of choosing sides. The system looked unbreakable. The villains were winning. And yet, Emily's whisper lingered. "Don't let them ignore me." Her words had become their anchor. Then, everything shifted. A nurse, pale and trembling, stepped forward unexpectedly. She broke the silence. "I was told to alter Emily's chart." "We all were." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The judge leaned forward for the first time all day. The hospital's lawyers exchanged frantic whispers. In that moment, the corruption cracked. The truth had slipped out, fragile but undeniable. The family was still broken. But now, for the first time, hope flickered. Because one testimony had shattered the illusion of perfection. And once cracks form in corruption, they never stop spreading. The verdict struck like a hammer. No liability. Case dismissed. Gasps filled the courtroom. Emily's mother collapsed into her husband's arms, her sobs echoing louder than the gavel. The hospital's lawyers smirked, shaking hands like victors at a game. The doctors walked free, faces untouched, reputations intact. To the system, Emily was just another statistic. To her family, she was everything. Reporters rushed to print headlines, hospital cleared. No negligence found. The public, at first, swallowed the official story. Some even blamed the family. Grief makes people irrational. But not everyone. Online, whispers became posts. Posts became threads. Threads became outrage. The nurse's testimony spread like wildfire, replayed again and again. Why would she risk her career if there wasn't truth behind it? Emily's family sat in silence that night, despair weighing heavy. Yet beneath the grief, a quiet resolve hardened. The system had won for now. The villains celebrated too soon. Because injustice may claim the battle, but it never wins the war. In the days after the verdict, Emily's home was unbearably quiet. Her favorite mug sat untouched. Her bed still smelled faintly of lavender. Her brother couldn't walk past the bookstore without choking back tears. The heartbreak was crushing. Nights blurred into mornings, grief folding into silence. Some relatives urged them to stop. "You'll destroy yourselves fighting a giant." But Emily's whisper lived in their minds. "Don't let them ignore me." And slowly resistance grew. The nurse who testified refused to back down. She gave interviews, trembling but determined. Other families reached out, their voices breaking with stories of the same dismissal, the same cold phrase, anxiety. A community began to unite. What started as one family's tragedy became a collective outcry. Petitions spread. Candlelight vigils lit the hospital gates. News outlets, once silent, now questioned the official narrative. But danger lurked, too. The hospital board issued threats of lawsuits against false claims. Whistleblowers received anonymous calls warning them to stay silent. Each step toward truth carried risk. And yet, every threat only fanned the fire. The fight no longer belonged to one family. It belonged to everyone who feared being silenced next. Emily was gone, but her voice echoed louder than ever. The hero had fallen, but the story, her story, was far from over. Emily's death was never just about one misdiagnosis. It exposed something far darker, a system built to protect itself, not its patients. How many others have been silenced with the word anxiety? How many families told to grieve quietly while evidence vanished behind locked doors? Ordinary people crushed beneath institutions too powerful to question. But cracks spread when voices unite. One nurse, one family, one community refusing to stay silent. And suddenly, the lies didn't look so unbreakable. The truth is fragile, easily buried, easily dismissed. But fragile doesn't mean powerless. When ordinary people demand answers, even giants begin to tremble. Emily's story reminds us, injustice can touch anyone at any moment. And fighting back isn't just about one life, it's about all of ours. This story isn't just one hero. It's all of us. What if it were your daughter, your sister, your best friend, dismissed with a wave of the hand and gone within hours? Emily's family never imagined it could happen to them. Neither did the others who've since stepped forward. This isn't just their fight, it's ours. Share Emily's story. Comment your thoughts. Spread this truth where silence once ruled. Because awareness is the first crack in the wall of corruption. Justice does not survive on its own. It survives only if ordinary people stand together. Equals 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 equals